So, Miguel, now I want to get into the final segment. But before that, I introduced this another segment. I call it Know Your Host, where I give my guest an opportunity to ask me a question. Although I know you have asked me a couple of questions on your podcast,
Yeah.
but if there's anything else you want to ask me today, please go ahead.
Okay, question for you is if you could redo your immigration journey to Canada, what would you do differently?
I think I've thought about that. I will do nothing differently. I will not. I think I am absolutely okay and absolutely grateful howsoever the things unfolded. The only thing, one tiny thing would be I will tell my younger self, the person who came, Gurasis who came the initial months, that work somewhere, like, even if you get like 2 hours a week, just to work somewhere. Because to be honest with you, I was so occupied with my studies because my college was 5 days a week, and
Yeah.
even on the weekends I was just going to the college for the group meetings, group projects. And I absolutely love my program, and I feel like my program is what prepared me to get into the workforce. But I think I would say that Gurasis, that at least work somewhere for 2 hours if you can a week. Not because you needed that money, of course you did. Who doesn't need more money?
Uh,
But just I think it allow me to build that little bit more connections. And I think you also feel a little bit of more groups you kind of be part of. You feel more belonging, I feel like. So that's why
yeah,
that's what exactly I would say. But otherwise, I'm absolutely happy with how several things unfolded. Yeah.
I love that. It sounded like it's more like a community as well, comparative community and
Yeah,
networking. And yeah, I love that.
exactly. Perfect. So now we get in the final segment of the podcast. I call it Beneath the Accent. I'm going to ask a couple of questions. You can answer them in
Yes,
one word or a sentence or however you feel like. The idea is just to know more about you. So, ready?
ready.
So, my first question is, what advice would you give to your younger self and at what age?
Let's keep it within the last chapter of my life, which is the Canadian chapter,
Hmm.
because I have many tweets or many messages that I would like to send myself, my younger self, and I will say, vulnerability is a superpower. Gratitude is your compass, and mentorship is what is going to transform your life. So keep it short, and I can expand, but I will say, yeah, focus on being vulnerable, asking for help. Focus on gratitude because there is no point in comparison with others. That's a waste of time. It's impossible to compare with others because so many different factors. Just compare with yourself. And mentorship, there is power in mentorship. But to get to mentorship, you need community, you need networking. So you need to learn to those two skill sets. Oh, and lastly, the skill that is going to change your life is to master information interviews. So that part is like, if you can focus on mastering information interviews, then you're going to be really good at networking, then you're going to be really good at community, then you're going to be really good at mentorship, at navigating either job promotions or opening businesses, you name it.
Mm, great answer. And what advice would you give to your, not advice, like what would you like to say to your 60-year-old self?
Oh, I have questions for my 60-year-old self. Yeah, I will say, how did you find harmony? Because why I had that question, for me, harmony is success. For me, like, success is not financial, like that's an outcome, that's a symptom, that's something that happens just because you're focused on the right things. But harmony is, in this world where there's so much and so much distraction and so much flashiness and things that are quite golden and distracting you from what is important.
Yeah.
Harmony is like doing the right things at the right time and giving the right mindfulness.
Hmm.
So, for example, being a father, being a husband, being a business person, being an employee, being a friend, being a brother, like putting all of that into the right moment, right time, and the right mind, like the right share of wallet in your mind, kind of thing. So it's sometimes it's almost impossible. Sometimes it's like,
Mm.
oh, you need to sacrifice something for other things. So, but no,
Yeah.
harmony is huge. So again, how did you go to that? Because I'm envisioning my 65 or older self I was able to accomplish. So it's like, how did you go there? Like, what were the steps? Like, tell me more about it. I just need to do it now, no? Because I'm so. Sometimes I get myself into, like, I want results fast. I want the microwave solution. It's like just 30 seconds and I'm there. But no, it's like, what can I do? Because that comes with discipline. That comes with mindfulness. That comes with oh, Again, another episode on let's talk about harmony.
But by that age, I feel like you would be able to learn how to tackle all that, right? But keeping that
Yes.
in mind, what would you say? Like if it's not a question, but like a statement to your 60-year-old self, what would you say?
Oh, okay. I will say, did everything I do was worth it? Again, another question. I guess I talk with questions. I
Okay.
know. I will say something like, I hope this worked. Or I like, yeah, like, I hope the outcome of this was meaningful or significant. Or I wish I knew better, but this is with the information I had, I did all of this. So something like that.
Okay, we'll go past that. Okay, tell me about
Yeah.
one dish from your home country that always brings you nostalgia.
Oh wow, mole. Mole is like an Indian curry, well, Mexican curry,
Mhm,
which is made with so many different spices and so many different ingredients. The reason it brings me nostalgia is because my grandma used to make it by herself and and scratch. So it takes hours, sometimes days, to make it, and it's delicious. It's quite flavorful and quite complex. So sometimes people ask me, can you describe yourself with one dish? I will say mole, just because of that. It has so
mhm.
much, and it tastes so different whenever you try it. And yeah, it's beautiful. It's amazing. It's my go-to and my recommendation if you want to taste some Mexican cuisine, mole.
Okay, perfect. Tell us about your first friend that you made in Canada and how did you meet them?
Oh wow! First friend in Canada was at church.
Okay.
Um, I started going to a church, and just by being genuine, by being myself, I was not looking for a job at church. I was not have a hidden agenda or anything like that. I was just like there just to listen to the sermon, to volunteer, to whatever. And I think that freedom allowed me to be myself and be genuine, and that helped me to create a great relationship. And then, without looking for it, that friend became pivotal to for me to have my biggest career promotion in my Canadian experience, like in
That's
my Canadian
incredible.
journey.
Are you still in touch with them?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Perfect. Tell us about this one Canadian tradition that you have adopted wholeheartedly. It's been like more than a decade you are here. So tell us about that. That you have any certain tradition, certain festival in Canada that you have adopted.
When I was living in Toronto, I visited all of them. Um, I love the Greek one. I love the Poland that I had back in Blur. Um, my favorite, I would say, the Greek festivals, just because the food. Again,
I've heard
you
that
win
before,
me
yeah.
with food. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So what's something that you ate for the first time in Canada?
Oh, wow. Memory lane. The first thing that I ate in Canada was sushi.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a restaurant in Toronto, and I was like, "Oh, let's try it out," and it was pretty good.
Okay. And do you continue to love sushi or have you just stopped?
Yes,
Okay.
I loved it. The difference is that sushi in Mexico is very different.
Hmm.
They put chocolate, they put mango,
Chocolate.
they put,
Hmm.
yeah. Sometimes it's like it's different flavors, very rich. Again, I guess it's part of the culture where let's test it out, let's see if it works, and yeah, it's amazing. Again, imagine sushi with mango, imagine sushi with pineapple and different flavors. So, of course, the restaurant I went, it was more Japanese, and the flavors were just straight.
Very authentic.
And I was like, oh, exactly, very authentic. So I was like, oh, and that reminded me of a trip where I went to Japan, and I was like, yeah, it tastes like Japanese sushi. So yeah.
So my next question is if you had to describe yourself as any creature, what would it be?
Wow, these questions are quite cool, Gracie. If I can describe myself as any creature, I will say it's a combination between a dolphin and a turtle. Why? Why? I know a dolphin is quite smart, fun, and social. A turtle is more like introvert but very wise. So I guess that will be a perfect description of what I am.
Very unique answer I've got. Okay. If you had to create this one law that everybody has to follow, what would it be?
I will reuse a commandment from a religion, which is love others as much as you love yourself.
Hmm.
And I think that it's if people were able to do that, or if people did
Mhm.
that, there, in my opinion, there will not be wars, there will not be issues, because if I love you as much as I love myself, which a lot of people love themselves a lot, uh,
Mhm.
then we will live in a world full of love.
Yeah, absolutely. Great answer. So describe Canada in one word or a sentence.
I will say Canada, it's a lovely struggle once you make it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can relate. Yeah. So finally, if you could leave me with one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh boy, I see you as a mentor. So if I can give you a
Oh
piece
my
of
God.
advice, yeah, my piece of advice for you is you are focusing on the right thing and you are doing it at the right moment. Um, my question is, can you do more? And
Mm,
I know it's not a piece of advice; it's more like a challenge. And potentially the answer is yes, potentially the answer is no. But it's why always focus on more, because growth mindset. So it's like, what else is out there for you? And if you can, if you have done all of this with so little, I'm just wondering what else can you do, which is impressive,
mm.
and I would like to see more.
I actually love that. That's a great way to uh, push me to push my own limits, to go
Yeah,
beyond my limits. That's a great way to say that. But once again, it's Miguel, so you can expect a question from a question.
you're
That's
so
an
right.
interesting
Like,
one.
it's funny because my mind goes to the questions. I don't know why, but you're right. Like, growth is found outside comfort zone. So if you are
Yeah.
comfortable right now, awesome. If you want to be comfortable your life, awesome. But if you want to grow, let's get uncomfortable. And
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
so of course, like, it's pushing the limits.
Awesome. So finally, how would you describe your experience of being on this My Tech Accent podcast?
My own experience being here, I loved it because I have never shared so many different things I talk with you. It's one of those things where it was also, I felt therapeutic in a way. I felt therapeutic in a way because some of those questions were like, oh, you're right. Like, I think now everything connects. Like, the reason what I want to help people, the reason that I do this, like, everything had a reason. So going back to the question of if you didn't want to change anything, the answer is very similar to me because I didn't want to change anything just because my struggle became my journey, and now I'm helping people because of that. If my journey was perfect, I will not be helping people. So maybe
Hmm.
there was a way, and there is a why, and there is a way of all of this. The importance of it. So yeah, it's one of those things that is like everything has a purpose.
Yeah.
And for people like you, I'm very happy that you are listening to to the message in a way that you're listening to yourself, like you're listening to inner God, and say like, yes, let's do it. So yeah, I'm super happy. And for me, being in this podcast has opened my eyes to be like, maybe I can do more, maybe I should be doing more, because just following, just looking at your example is like, oh wow, yeah, there is so many ideas I can do better.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing to hear. Thank you. Thank you for being on the podcast and adding value to my listeners, Miguel. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you, thank you.